Okay, folks, we're live for week two's fantasy preview. Mark Wells here, owner of the Toga Temptations. Want to first off congratulate Batter Ray on a great week in week one. He was your KOP. He took a little bit of a knock on his draft strategy, auction strategy from Eric Gruner, and a little bit from myself in week one. And at least after 1 week, Batter was the king of the crop. And as we head into week two, it's amazing. It's week one. My initial takeaway was that from a competitive balance standpoint, the best I've seen to start a season. We had many teams alive for that king of points, and I imagine that will continue as we look at week two in the league. And I'll bring that up for you now. Let's see here. I'm just trying to find it here. So bear with me, folks. Where is it? I'm not finding it. Let's see if we can get that going. Perhaps we're having a little difficulty at this point, but as I look at this coming week, we have many teams again projected for pretty high point totals. I'll start with my own team as we look as one of the potential KOP favorites this week. I'm projected at 165.3. You have the process also projected at 165.3. Big John's little pals. He had a great first week. He's at 161.5 as a projected total. We've got 162 for the Horned Frogs. Could he do it 2 weeks in a row? Philly, 168. Bumblebees, 167. I mean, it's incredible. Fried dough to go, 151. So many teams before we kick off on Sunday that look to be in a great position. Beyond that, Philly got off to a great start. Him and I made a trade prior to the auction. Nick Chubb, who wasn't as big of a factor in week one, has had a huge performance on Thursday night. He had 32.7 points, and he's out to a 32-point lead on the Bermuda Bumblebees, who have yet to have a player play. The other matchup with action already, the process up 35.2 to Big John's Little Pals, 26.1. That looks to be, at least on paper, that and Philly look like the two closest matchups of the week. So if this is really annoying, I wish I could bring this up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so as we head into week two, let's take a look at the Philly versus Bermuda Bumblebees. Okay, so here we have it. As we look at the matchup, obviously a lot of firepower on the Bermuda squad. Mahomes always huge. Edwards-Helaire had an awesome first week. I imagine more of that to come this week. Red also did a great job on with his free agent auction bidding, adding Hines. I think that'll be awesome with Marlon Mack out for the year. And the Saints D, they take on Las Vegas. So I really like some of the matchups that Red has going on this week. I anticipate the Dallas game with Atlanta should be pretty high scoring. We'll see how that affects Ezekiel. If it becomes more of a passing game, that might diminish a little bit of Ezekiel's turnout, but he's obviously a serious threat. Josh Allen on the other side of the coin, he had an awesome first week against the Jets. They get Miami today at 1:00. I imagine he'll continue to grow and be a factor with that much improved Buffalo squad. Aaron Jones with Green Bay, they have Detroit, which is a heartbreaking loss last week, and it always seems to happen quite a bit with the Lions. A drop touchdown basically to win the game in the end zone with not much time left on the clock. So we'll see how they respond. Um, Philly also has a Marvin Jones, so he'll be keeping a close eye on that Green Bay Detroit game today, I'm sure. Obviously, to fall 0-2 for Detroit is will be a tough hole to climb out of. So we'll see how they respond today in Green Bay. Typically a hard place to play, but obviously no fans in the stands, which may help level things out a bit. My prediction, I think in this matchup, I'm going to go with the Bermuda Bumblebees. Our commissioner had a birthday yesterday, and Will already gave him a gift last week. But this week, I don't think any gift is necessary. Although they have this as a very tight matchup, the ESPN projectors, I think that Red, just given the matchups, I just like him today. I think he wins fairly comfortably over Philly. Heading into the other key matchup of the week, let's look at the Process versus Big John's Little Pals. Big John started 1-0 last week. He currently finds himself in third place in the league. And the Process, Pat, fell last week, so he's 0-1. ESPN has it projected as a 165, 161 win for the Process. So let's take a look here and see what we've got. Kind of the first thing I like to look at, especially when they've had action on Thursday night, is did the players that performed on Thursday night, did they perform at or above or below what you would anticipate or expect from those folks? I think if you're Big John, you got to be happy with Kareem Hunt. So I think that was one of the questions going into the year. One of the reasons why, when debating who to trade to Philly, I ended up parting ways with Chubb because of Kareem Hunt. And you just never know how a split backfield is going to play out for you. In this particular case, both running backs scored over 25 points, which is huge. And I think especially for Big John to be able to get 26 from Kareem Hunt, 2 total TDs, 86 yards is awesome. In fact, I would imagine prior to Thursday night's game, he was probably a much bigger underdog. Russell Wilson looked awesome last week. Played nearly a perfect game. He has New England today. I'm very curious to see how they look. And I really like the way Julio Jones looked. He looked to me like he had lost a little weight. He seemed quick, agile in week 1. You know, he's over the age of 30, but he's still getting the job done. And as I touched on in our prior matchup, I think that game could be pretty high scoring. I don't like the Dallas secondary, so I expect huge things from Julio Jones today. Robert Woods, I think extremely underrated. I think he has the goods. I like they play Philly today, and Philly obviously was not impressive in week 1. I expect good things from Robert Woods. Ravens D, I mean, that Ravens team is just unbelievable. And poor Houston. Houston had to play Kansas City last week, and now they've got Baltimore this week. I think Ravens should do a fine job. I still can't get over the fact that Houston traded DeAndre Hopkins last year. Huge mistake, trading your best player and arguably the best receiver in the league. So all in all, I really like what Big John has going for him. On the other side of the coin, let's take a look. Mixon with 15.8. I don't know what he was projected for. I would imagine that's at maybe slightly below what they projected. But I think if you are Pat, you've got to be happy with Odell Beckham. He's really underwhelmed since leaving the Giants. Obviously, a lot of questions surrounding Baker Mayfield and whether or not he is the quarterback of the future for the Browns. I think had they lost that game, you may have seen Odell potentially traded to another team. They won. Still not off the table. I know the Browns suggest that he will not be traded, or they're not looking to trade him. But again, we'll see how Baker comes back next week. But at least for now, Odell with 20 points, I would say above expectation given what he's done for the most part since landing in Cleveland. Minnesota, They take on Indianapolis today, and obviously Minnesota lost last week. Indianapolis lost to Jacksonville, right? Which I don't think anyone anticipated. So we'll see how that goes. I wasn't overly excited with the passing game for Minnesota last week. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, who I have on my team, put up the fantasy points, but I'd like to see that Minnesota offense come around. So we'll see what kind of role Thielen plays in that attack today. The Colts on the other side, I just don't know what Phillip Rivers has left in the tank. They lost Marlon Mack. It'll be interesting. I certainly anticipate a win for Minnesota. It's just a matter of whether that comes primarily on the ground or through the air. Zach Ertz, we'll see. Obviously, he's widely considered one of the better tight ends in the league. But again, Philly did not look sharp last week. We'll see if they bounce back against the Rams. I was pretty excited to see how Todd Gurley performed last week. We'll see if he kind of slows down as the year goes on. But after last year with the Rams and how he looked and very limited touches towards the end, I've obviously been a little nervous. I think he's had major knee issues. So we'll see if Gurley can continue that. As we've already touched on, expect a high-scoring game there. Cooper Kupp is in this game, so it's funny. Both guys have a Rams wide receiver, Woods and Kupp. Kupp last year, I had him on my team, ton of receptions, had an awesome year. But, we'll see today. The key could be in this matchup, who performs better and who gets more of the looks for the Rams between Woods and Kupp. We have the Patriots defense, they're a great defense, but I love Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson, again, on the other side of this matchup, will be directly affecting the defensive performance on the other side. And then you have the two kickers. Obviously, having the Kansas City kicker is big. And on the other side, you have Detroit. So when I look at this matchup, I think I'm going to lean Big John's little pals. Although Mixon and Beckham had great performances or good performances, they didn't far out exceed. I like what they had with Kareem Hunt. I think I like the offense. I expect bigger things. I expect Julio Jones to outperform Beckham. I expect Woods to outperform Thielen. So I'm going to go that way. I really like Russell Wilson. Drew Brees is great as well, but Michael Thomas is out. So that's certainly going to affect things. So my prediction here is that Big John's little pals, a man that flew under the radar in the auction and always under the radar when it comes to the group chat, will go to 2-0 this week. And unfortunately for Pat, I hope it's not like the process for the 76ers. He may be forever in rebuilding mode, but I expect to fall to 0-2. I'll just quickly make my other predictions. We won't dive as deeply into these other matchups, but I'll give you my take for the week. Of course, I like myself against Smuts Nuts. Want to give him kudos for his performance last week. Very nearly the king of points in his first year in the league and taking over a new team. So obviously expect him to be I know for a fact he'll be a key addition to the league, but I do think he does fall to 1-1 this week. In the team irrelevance Horned Frogs matchup, I haven't looked extremely close at it. It's obviously tied 0-0. We talked last week. I think Rick agreed. He feels like he is middle of the pack. Horned Frogs showed last week that they, are certainly one of the best teams in the league. I expect Horned Frogs to go 2-0, and team irrelevance will be 0-2. And Fried Dough to go. The man himself, Will Carroll, who took a loss last week as a gift to our commissioner, will take on Sean. And Sean certainly had a rough week last week. Projected to be the lowest scoring team again this week. I think without a shadow of a doubt, Fried Dough to go will get his first win of the season today. So that's kind of what I have for you today, folks. One thing I did want to mention is that the commissioner did ask. I spoke with him last night and for his birthday, and one request that he did have was sometime in the near future that we get Will and Pat as my two guests for the weekly preview. So let's look at schedules, calendars, and hopefully maybe next week we can get Will and Pat on to break down the week 3 action and look back at week 2. So enjoy the games. It is now 12:20. Get your lineup set, and we'll see how the action goes. This is Mark Wells, your former commissioner, wishing you all good luck, and we will talk to you next week.